Alright, this thing not streaming yet. 9781. I hear that a lot on radio, right? What does 9781 stand for anyway? We will go to videos. We're going to pull up the video with Jordan Anderson. This video with Jordan Anderson is one of the reasons that Scott DeCosta has been so adamant about covering for his officers. This video with Jordan Anderson shows you where Scott DeCosta started his felony career with me. Did Graham tell that officer that I was bipolar? No, he didn't. Scott DeCosta stopped watching the video when Graham said that I was autistic and had Tourette's syndrome. Because what Scott DeCosta heard was bipolar. Why did Scott DeCosta play that off? Because doing those things to somebody who is autistic or has Tourette's syndrome, that'll get you in a lot of trouble. But you pretend like they're mentally ill, it magically makes it okay. It magically makes it okay that Jordan Anderson didn't do his job. See, that's the thing through all of this. It's not that I wasn't fucking trying. It's that I am not a human being to the fucking cops. I'm not a human being to you. If this had happened to a girl, the cops would have been all over it like flies on fucking shit. But because I have a penis, they ignored it. They blew it off. They occasionally pretended like they did their jobs, but they don't have anything to show for it. Nothing at all. Let's put this Jordan Anderson video up here because this is the one that I'm breaking down at the moment. You will click on it. Hit pause. Right click. Copy video URL. And blam, right down here. See, it wasn't just the Bollingers. It was also police not doing their fucking jobs, looking for any excuse not to do their jobs. And those conversations with Scott DeCosta where he's thinking that he gets some sort of fucking clout because he admits that Jordan Anderson never made a report. No, you don't get any clout for that. The first thing you started doing was trying to hide the fact that you fucked up. You should have watched that whole goddamn video, you bitch. These officers are friends. They don't care about me. They care about their friends. So they commit felonies so their friends don't get in trouble. And then they let their friends move on to a different state where the long arm of the law cannot pursue them. They give these predators a recommendation to another department where they're going to do this to somebody else. If you're a pretty girl, you don't have to tell the truth. You're a pretty girl. Everybody wants to fucking help you. The social structure of the United States, despite what the laws say, social expectations dictate that we have to be on a woman's side just because she has a vagina. Even if she has a history of drug-induced fucking manipulation and destroying people's lives and lying about men, we are obligated to be on her side because she has a vagina. No other reason. There is no other reason except that vagina. Women do the same fucked up shit that men do. But it's socially acceptable. It is socially acceptable for my mom to be married and give other people blowjobs. It is socially acceptable for my mother to cheat on Scott and to physically assault him. It is okay for my mother to bust up his vehicle and kick him out of the house because one of his characters got married to a character on a video game. The two characters were different genders, but Scott is a male, and the dude who owns the account of the female character is a dude. So my mom did the Christian thing and got hateful at Scott. You're an abomination to God. Sodomy is a sin. You don't love me. You love the devil. You love Satan. I'm like, holy shit, this is my mother. Dear God. Reminds me of a song by the Crash Test Dummies. Lurking all over the church floor. Matter of fact, I'm going to type in Crash Test Dummies. Oh yeah, that keyboard doesn't work. I'll get used to it eventually. It'll just take me some time. Once there was this girl who didn't want to change with other girls in the change room, but when they finally made her, they saw birthmarks all over her body. Sorry, I'm trying to sing with a hoarse voice. The song is called Mmm. After this, I'm gonna post up one other one that's got some meaning to me. Shit, this thing won't fucking stay working. The link address, live streaming, blam. Here's the Crash Test Dummies. You guys treat me like shit for having emotions. Meanwhile, the emotions that I have aren't even the emotions that you're condemning me for. If a woman fucks up a man's life because she's on fucking drugs, she's not held responsible, especially if she picks the right victim. Who is it that raped Natalie Bollinger? That would be Tim Beeson and Ted Bollinger. Those people did rape Natalie. Me and Natalie never even kissed. We held hands once. The thing is that my predators got away because my public pretenders wouldn't do their job. Through all of this, never once did I have legal counsel. Not once. Without legal counsel, my predators were able to do whatever they wanted to me. When, or not Nicole Peralta, but Pamela Cardi finally sent me all the information that she'd been playing retarded every time I asked for her. She played retarded until the statute of limitations was up, and then she sent it to me. And I opened it up. I start listening to the very first recording on there. It's me calling her up. about the abuse and the torture I was enduring in the jails. And mind you, I've got also written reports from other inmates. Not a lot. See, here's the thing. Most of the stuff that we wrote got thrown away. Right? You try to turn in the officers, and the officers just throw it away. I sent 11 different letters out. 11 letters to try to do something about it. I only got one reply. Those people told me that it was my public pretender's job. I still have that. It's buried in a fucking entire goddamn mountain of paperwork, but I still have it. I need people to look at this evidence. The state patrol officer, I explained to him, and this is probably the fourth or fifth time that this has happened with police. I explained that I don't have a safe place. That I don't have a place where I can sit in peace and fucking quiet and work on the shit and be left the fuck alone. Be able to make the fucking phone calls. And most of the technical skills that are required to do this, I don't have. So he just continued to re-ask his question. He reworded it a little bit different so that maybe he might be able to trip me up by saying something completely different, but then just reinterpreting it towards the first question. Like, sure, the 8th time that you asked, it was completely and totally different from the original question that you asked. That's why you asked me 8 times. The first 7 times, the answer that you got was not the answer that you wanted. My disabilities have been exploited, preventing me from doing what you're asking. I need people to help me instead of exploit my disabilities, which is literally what that officer did by repeatedly asking that same question, changing it just a little bit every time. The last time he got an answer that he felt was adequate for him not to have to do his job, for him to ignore my disabilities. But he had to ask that question 8 times. 8 times. And ultimately ask a question that is completely different from the first one, but interpret it in a way that makes it okay that he just left. But I just have to accept it, don't I? Because there was nobody there with me. I called up that state patrol officer because I needed someone there with me for my safety because of things that Scott decoste and his officers did when I tried to turn in Jordan Anderson for not doing his fucking job, for not writing a fucking report. Were there consequences for Jordan Anderson? No, there weren't. But there were consequences for me. Every time that police refused to document this shit, every time that police refused to look at the evidence that I had with me in person, I brought it with me so I could show you. Not so you could make every excuse not to fucking look at it. Not so that after realizing that I'm not going to be able to do it that you want the way that you want me to do it, I'm not going to be able to have the facilities to do that or the help to do that, which is the whole reason that I need you to fucking do something. Because I am not able to do these things for myself. My predators get away. And I tell these officers, I am not capable of doing that. I'm trying. There is plenty of evidence that I am trying. If I try to get your help as a police officer, because Ted Bollinger and his family are doing these things, you do not get to pretend that I am the bad guy because you didn't do your job. You do not get to threaten, harass, intimidate me because Jordan Anderson didn't do his job. You do not get to try to intimidate me into leaving town like Cody Selhorst did. When I talked to Cody Selhorst the first time, I was out at Chapel Lake. Somebody called me in saying that I was trying to kill myself at Chapel Lake. And I was. Jordan Anderson pulled up behind me, realized I wasn't dead yet. He saw the mask on my face. He knew what I was doing. Someone literally called him, told him that I was trying to kill myself at Chapel Lake. That officer went out there, saw that I was trying to kill myself. But it's better for the department and better for his friend if I'm dead. His friend has no consequences for how badly he fucked up if I'm dead. And Cody Selhorst drove over to the other side of the lake. And he sat there and he watched me for 2 goddamn hours. When my suicide attempt didn't work, I called up Brandon Jepson, who treated me like shit. And then he's like, if you were going to kill yourself, you would have done it by now. Bitch, I just got done sitting there for an hour and a half, huffing. What? Something called a noble gas. A noble gas replaces the oxygen in your system and you don't even know it. I tried it with helium. When it didn't work, and I called Brandon, and Brandon treated me like that, and then he wants to tell me shit like, well, you don't know shit about my life. You haven't known shit about my life for the last 7 years. Well, the same is true the other way around, bitch. Brandon, when we were friends, I was your bitch. That's how you treated me. I was a good friend, and I was a loyal friend. But you threw me away and treated me like shit years ago. I told Brandon Jepson about the abuse that I was enduring at the hands of the Boulder Police Department over a decade ago. And he threw me away like I was trash. Why is that? Because Brandon's a fucking idiot. Brandon wanted to be a fucking cop. That was his dream. But he committed a felony. He was under the age of 21 at Torrington, Wyoming, going to school for criminal justice. And mind you, this is where I learned about what police are taught in school. Brandon come back from class and say, yeah, we were learning how to frame homeless people today. Holy shit. Just blatantly outright, like no big thing. That's how he said it. So he's got a handgun. You're not allowed to own a handgun until you're 21. You're not allowed to own a handgun or have a handgun in the dorm rooms. And Brandon Jepson was in his dorm room where he's going to school to become a law enforcement officer, breaking the law. He's cleaning his gun that he's not allowed to have in the dorm room where he's not allowed to have it, and he got his ass kicked out of college. Brandon, you're a bitch and a dumbass. It's your fault. That is your fault. You're the dumbass with the fucking gun. But after Natalie died, Brandon treated me like fucking shit at every fucking turn. His little brother, this little fucking meth head named Jason Jepson. There's 2 Jason Jepsons from this town, Big J and Little J. Big J is Gary Jepson's son. Little J is Ron and Terry Jepson's son. Different families, different spellings. Still sounds the same phonically. Now, little Jason, he's got a twin sister named Kim. Jason was trying to kill his sister on multiple occasions. He tried to cut his sister's feet off with a garden hoe. Thought it was fucking hilarious. So this guy gets strung out of his goddamn gourd. When I talk about all the people, all the meth heads over at Matt Worley's, how all my friends turned into meth heads. I considered little Jay a friend of mine at that point in time. I didn't consider Jason Vogt a friend at any point in time. He was always a bully. But his family's got a good name and they are Christians, so therefore Jason Vogt can't do no wrong. In their eyes, anyway. But little Jay, this dude, after Natalie died, after all the shit that he has done to me in my life, the fucking evil, twisted, goddamn manipulative, vindictive bullshit that he has pulled in my life. After Natalie died, he thought he was going to get on some of these sites and get his revenge against me for standing up to him. He'll hold that fucking grudge forever. But when he was talking shit on there, I did the right thing. First of all, I mentioned how, although he's judging me for rumors, he did try to kill his wife. Now, this is a small town for you. Polly Olson used to date one of the former sheriffs here, Jim Hayes, who helped to cover up several murders. Well, at least one. Pretty much everybody in town knew about it. People in town still talk about it. Polly Olson is Ashley Olson's mother. Ashley Olson is the wife that little Jason Jeffson was trying to murder. She's fucking 8, 9 months pregnant at the time. And he's fucking shooting at her. He's methed out of his goddamn mind, shooting at her with a gun. Now, this has happened before. My Uncle Greg was dating that woman that I'm always talking about, Jerry. Jerry had a sister. Her name was Loretta. Loretta was dating my uncle. My uncle sold her a car. Well, they broke up, so she took the car, but my uncle still had the title. He refused to give it to her because my uncle, like many men that you are attracted to, has control issues. If he doesn't give you the title to that car, he can hold it over your head. You can't leave me. I have the title to your car. You'll have to walk everywhere. So she was in a vehicle with Ray Mock. It was a 1985 Pontiac Firebird. And I'll tell you later how I know that. So her and Ray Mock, they're in this 1985 Pontiac Firebird. And my uncle is pissed off because Loretta left him. So what does my uncle do? He takes his 1950s fucking pickup, rams into the back of that fucking 1985 Pontiac Firebird, shattering all the windows in the vehicle except the one in the front. So then he walks around to the front of the vehicle, stands catty corner from the driver's headlight. He showed me right where he was standing. Now, the story that he told me was that he was just trying to scare her. While he's telling me this story, though, I go and I stand where it is. He said that he was standing in relation to the vehicle. And guess what? 222 long rifle rounds and a headrest right behind them. My uncle was literally trying to murder Loretta. He served less than 3 months in jail. Jason Jeffson didn't spend long locked up either. These are actual predators. When I said that my family is a whole bunch of goddamn predators, I wasn't fucking kidding. My grandma had 4 kids. She had my mom, who is a sexual predator, as well as a drug addict and a manipulator. And then there's my Uncle Greg, who obviously has no qualms with trying to murder somebody. And then we got my Uncle Matt and we got my Uncle James, who both raped my Aunt Marcy. My Aunt Marcy is the only innocent out of all these people, so far as I'm aware. See, my Aunt Marcy, she doesn't like sex any more than I do. How would she? But yeah, that's the family that I got. A bunch of drug addicts, a bunch of child molesters, a bunch of felons. You know, there's a gun in town. This dude keeps trying to give it to me. Says, you know, I'm not getting any younger. You know, how are you going to get it if I die? Your grandpa wanted you to have this, huh? I didn't want it, though. My grandpa was a fucking child molester and a rapist. My grandpa raped my mother all growing up. I don't want anything that the man had. What the fuck am I going to do with his old fucking gun? What the fuck am I going to do with it? I'm not even allowed to fucking have it. And I tell this guy this. I'm like, dude, I've been locked up in a fucking nuthatch. I'm not allowed to have that. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to touch it. I'm pretty sure that if I'm in a house, I'm not allowed to be in a house where there is a gun. But there was a gun in Candace's house. There were guns at Lana and Amanda's house. There's a gun here. There's a gun at my friend up north who I've been staying with. There's guns up at Lori Elliott's. If I hadn't gone to a place where there was guns, I would have had no place to go. Of course, I've also been shooting. I've gone out shooting probably half a dozen times since Natalie died. I'm still a pretty damn good shot. But you know what? I've gone out shooting with a lot of people. Brandon Ratner, I went out shooting with him probably 2 to 3 times. But you know what? It's always somebody else's gun. Always. You know why? In 2003, when all those motherfuckers got all messed out of their gourd over at Worley's here in town, they ended up stealing a bunch of stuff from Matt Worley's mom. That was the final straw. These aren't human beings. These are the drug. Little Jason, Matt Worley, his brother Gumby, Case Morris, all these guys. I'm sorry, I forgot where I was at in the story because there's 3 or 4 related stories that I was thinking of all at once. And it is all interconnected. Polly Olson doesn't want to come forward or say anything about the police here in town because she's friends with some of them. And you know, she wanted to make sure I wasn't recording before she said that. Polly Olson, right after I left Virginia, well, I was panhandling on the corner of the fucking street because I'm at Miss Peach's. They don't have much food. You know, it's Thanksgiving season and they ain't got shit. So I'm out there panhandling with the sign, me and A-Bear both. And we get the food, you know. We even get some of the stuff that they want, some of the stuff that they're interested in, some of the stuff that they're saying, hey, Sean, you should get this. There's a game called Magic the Gathering. And I said, you know, you got to do some fun stuff. You know, if you do fun stuff, you know, let's play Magic. You should get this and you should get this. And, I ended up getting about $400 overall from panhandling. That doesn't ever happen except around the Christmas season. And I spent most of that money on food and on gas and on all the things that they wanted. But I also spent some of that on Magic the Gathering cards. Everybody in the house played Magic the Gathering. Everybody in the house enjoyed that. So I spent some of that money that people gave me to get some Magic the Gathering cards. I put together a deck and we played. Well, Josh Abear is a piece of shit. He's an asshole. He can't play a game just for the game. He's got to play the game so that he can treat people like shit. So then nobody in the house wants to play. Everybody's in a bad fucking mood. All right, that's not true. Josh wanted to play. Nobody wanted to play because of Josh. Josh Abear burnt us all out, not because the game wasn't fun, but because he's a fucking asshole. Don't play games with assholes. I would rather play a fun game with fun people than sit there and have some fucking piece of shit treat me like shit for 45 goddamn minutes to an hour. They said, hey, you should probably pull out, $10 of that to go get this card. That way you can play with us on a competitive level. And I used to play Magic the Gathering back in the day, but now it's a different game, There's a lot of new stuff that's added to it. And a lot of the old stuff was taken out. And some of you might say, well, dude, people gave you that money to help you out and you wasted it on toys. Nope, I didn't waste it on toys. I invested part of it into my better mental health and well-being. I invested that money into a social activity. Ugh. I do have ear infection. Now, what's that got to do with little Jason and him getting onto these sites and stuff? Right? Well, like I said, it's all interconnected. Jason, after getting methed out of his gourd and trying to fucking murder his wife, wanted to get on and pretend I was a psycho. Meanwhile, by that time, I'd already saved screenshots from his sister about the situations. I'd also recorded several phone calls with his mom about the situations. And guess what? She didn't say nice things about Brandon or Jason. She said Brandon was a little asswipe. Ah, that's her own son. Well, why did she say that? Because he was. And I do love Brandon. I do love his mom. I love his dad. I love his sister. And I love both of his brothers. One of his brothers is Little Jay. The other brother, his name is Mike Jepson. This dude has yellow eyes and they're cat eyes. Like, you see how my pupil is round? So is yours. His isn't. It's up and down. He used to work for that sheriff, Jim Haith, the crooked one. The one that used to date Polly Olson. Small towns, bud. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's related to everybody. And who you are is less important than your family name. Who you are as a person is less important than whether or not you grew up here. If you grew up here, you're a Chapelite. They accept you. And there's a few really weird kids that were accepted, like Andy Carlson. But Andy Carlson grew up here with the Carlson family name. I didn't. I grew up the son of one of the biggest sluts to ever go through Chapel High School. And I'm in Chapel, Nebraska. Yeah, it's a different scenario for me. I got people coming out of the woodwork saying, your mom was a lot of fun in high school. Yeehaw! I got Gary Jepson telling me about my mom playing strip poker, naked as a fucking jaybird. He gets off of work, he goes into his house, and there's my mom sitting at his counter naked as a motherfucker, playing strip poker. Yeah, Gary Jepson told me that story. So did Rory, his son. His son would not have been old enough to see my mom naked at that age, but apparently he did. My mom used to babysit for the Jepsons. That's the Gary Jepson family, not the Ron and Terry Jepson family. When Jason decided that he was going to get on there and be a little douchebag, I posted a link to one of the conversations I recorded with his mom. Eat that, you little motherfucker. You want to talk shit? You think you're going to get popular by treating me like shit? You little motherfucker. You goddamn psycho. I never tried to cut off my sister's feet. I never tried to kill my sister. I sure as hell never tried to murder the mother of my child. Now, don't get me wrong. I get that there are people in my family that have done the same thing that you did, Jason. My Uncle Greg did the same thing you did. You got into less trouble for trying to murder your wife, your pregnant wife, and you got into less trouble than I did for a murder that I didn't even fucking commit. You spent less time locked up for attempted murder than I did for being accused of murder that I obviously did not commit. Little Jay, you're a piece of shit straight up. Your sister admits that you're a piece of shit. Brandon admits that you're a piece of shit. Your mom admits that you're a piece of shit. And your situation is completely different from mine. Your family does love you. Even after you tried to murder your wife, your fucking family was there for you. Even after you tried to murder your wife, your brother Brandon came down to help you move. After all the shit that you did to Brandon, and he still fucking showed up, didn't he? You tried to kill your wife, and your family still helped you. I was accused of a murder I didn't commit, and my family used that as an excuse to victimize me, to treat me like shit, to try to justify all of the evil things that they have done to me in my lifetime. There are over a dozen people on this YouTube who know my parents, know me, know my situation, and know I'm telling the truth. While you had every advantage, Jason Jeffson, I had none. Now, Jason Jeffson, why is it that he was my friend despite the fact that he was such a piece of shit? Well, I'm going to tell you. When I got out of Pine Ridge Job Corps Center, I was sent to the Colton Boys and Girls Home. I was already 18. But they refused to emancipate me, saying that there are no emancipation laws in Nebraska. I'm stuck there till I'm 18. But then there was this kid who wanted to fucking bully me, and he just wouldn't fucking stop. The staff wouldn't do shit. They'd tell me to ignore it. How easy is it to ignore somebody who is all up in your fucking grill? How easy is it just to step away from the situation when you're in between a couch and a table and a wall and this motherfucker? So he goes upstairs and he flips on and off my light switch like a motherfucker about 5 or 6 times during the course of maybe 20 minutes. So I yell at him. I say, knock it the fuck off. Well, next thing I know, Adam Frericks, this new rookie cop, he's arresting me, and obviously he hasn't arrested a whole lot of people. He says to me, you're the most respectful person I've ever arrested. So then what do? They emancipate me so they can charge me as an adult. Well, holy hell. And that was the situation that resulted as a result of Doug Cowden and my mom having sex and doing cocaine together. Because Doug Cowden wasn't paying me back for the bullshit that he and my brother pulled at the Applebee's when I was supposed to get a car. Instead, my first car ended up being that vehicle that my uncle tried to kill Loretta in. And the engine was fucked. And we put new T-tops on it, cut them off of an old Camaro and put them on there. Welded them on, nice. Fucking took the grinder to it. And that was my first car. My mom was insistent that I was going to get that car. That was going to be my car. My uncle told me that the engine was screwed. My mom said that's just because he doesn't want to sell the car. Meanwhile, my dad sent me money that was owed to me, but he didn't send it to me. He sent it to my mom. And then that whole situation with Doug happened. And I ended up going to Pine Ridge Job Corps Center over it. But see, here's the thing. My mom, instead of going and doing something about this dude who was obviously taking advantage of me and taking my money, instead of doing the right thing, she went out and did some coke with him and had sex with him. When I confronted her about it, her hair's fucked up, her shirt's buttoned up crooked, and she kicks me out of the house. Then she calls the cops and said that I ran away because I didn't want to wash the dishes. There's a big difference between me and Little J. Little J is an actual fucking psycho. Also, that story that I told about Kim Jepson and Michael McBee. Michael McBee is the sheriff's son at the time in Haxton, Colorado. What do we know about Haxton? That's where Candace lived. That's where the situation with Michael Beard happened. Anyway, Michael McBee, the reason I didn't like him is because Brandon told me, you know what? He dragged my sister out of her fucking vehicle by her hair. So yeah, I wasn't happy with him. And Kim was my very first friend in Chapel, Nebraska. Yeah, goddamn right I'm a bit overprotective of my loved ones. He yanked her out of the fucking car by her hair. Zach Metcalf had been a dick to me and bullying me for over a year by that point. So Kim, she gets back with Michael McBee, this dude who abused her. She gets back with him. And she keeps on wanting to talk to me. This is when I started smoking cigarettes. Kim Jepson wouldn't come around me if I was smoking cigarettes. So I started smoking cigarettes. I I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to feel the emotional turmoil of anything that she had to say at that point. You're going back to a man who yanked you out of the fucking car by your hair. But you forgive him because he gives you a dozen white roses and fucking kisses your ass. This is the son of a cop. He's probably going to do it again. Children live what they learn and learn what they live. If your dad is a cop, he is the most likely person in America of any profession to beat on his wife and kids. They're also the most likely to get away with it. So there was a Veterans Day assembly, and Zach, he'd been bullying me for a while, and I was sick of his shit. I'd been waiting on him to do something stupid like put his nasty cock beaters on me, and he'd been doing roids and fucking bulking up. He claims that he never did roids, but he bulked up fucking quick. He got real big, and even though he was a year or two younger than me, he was a lot bigger than me. And he was also one of those people who was in love with Kimberly Jepson. This is the only woman for him. On graduation day, he professed his undying love to Kim, and she still didn't have him. Isn't that fucking hilarious? Well, let's get back to the Veterans Day Assembly. This is after Kim and Mike have gotten back together. I've been trying to avoid her for probably 2 weeks, and it's just not happening. So I wrote her a letter, and I did it artistically. I drew a picture of someone's butt, and I wrote all the words and all of the blank spaces that weren't the butt. And I gave that to Kim. This is what I have to say. I'm overwhelmed, and I need a few, so it would be nice if you would give me a few. It would be nice if, instead of hounding me, you give me some space. I mean, I'm smoking cigarettes at that point because this is the only thing that, Kim, when she got back together with Mike, she wanted to talk to me. She wanted to talk to me. She wanted to talk to me. And this is probably the first time in my life that a woman has ever spent that much effort wanting to talk to me. No, Kim, I don't want to hear it. It hurts me. It hurts me to even hear what he did to you. No, I don't want to hear you making excuses for the man. I don't want to hear you make excuses for Michael McBee. So at that Veterans Day assembly, Zach Metcalf, who I've been hoping that he's going to grow the balls to do something eventually, he finally grows the balls. And although most of the shit that has gone on in the last year, or literally all of the stuff that has gone on in the last year with Zach Metcalf, had nothing to do with Kim, he decided he was going to get froggy and jump over the letter that I wrote to Kim. And he decided he was going to assault me, and he did. And I had a whole bunch of art stuff in my hand. When he fucking smacked me, my first fucking reaction was to swing that shit at him. Well, the funny thing, the top sheet of paper and the bottom sheet of paper stayed there. The rest of them went flying, and I fucking smacked him across the face with 2 pieces of paper. So, by this time, I'd been in probably close to 400 fights in my life, and Zach had never been in one. And I had him in this reverse headlock thing, and I was looking at the back of his neck. His face is pointing this way down here, His eyes are down here, nose is here, his mouth is here, and he's on top of me. And, if he was an experienced fighter, as soon as I let him go, he's going to fucking start hitting me. I mean, I am on the bottom position. He is in perfect mounted position for a ground and pound. But also, I'm afraid of dislocating his neck at this point. I'm looking down at him, and my abs are hurting, and my back is hurting because I'm basically doing a full crunch because I'm afraid if I relax, I'm going to break his fucking neck. So I let him go. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have to accept the fact that I'm going to get my ass whooped because I don't want to kill this son of a bitch. And I let him go, and while he showed his lack of experience by jumping up and pulling his arm back. By the time he's got his arm back to here, my fist was already on his nose, and his nose was already turned to the side of his head. I don't feel bad about that. What I feel bad about is that all happened over the situation with Kim Jepsen. I would have loved for me and Zach Metcalf to have our fight over him being a bully, but not in that situation with Kim. Me and him should have had a good, clean fight over our differences. To this day, I still feel bad about it being about Kim. Kim, she knows my stories are true, but she also works with pediatrics. She's a nurse. And I'm proud of her for that. But also, if she speaks up for me, that could affect her job. So I'm a bad person because she doesn't want to lose her job. You say you shouldn't care what other people think. This whole world revolves around what other people think. People are raped over what other people think. They are murdered over what other people think. If you kick your ex out because she can't stay off the fucking heroin and she's putting your fucking kids at risk by having dangerous fucking drug dealers around while you're at fucking work, you did the right thing as a father, and I commend you. I also understand why you were so incredibly afraid to do that for so long. You're the man. If anything happens, there are a million and one things that she can do to destroy your life. The first among them is call you a child molester or a rapist or claim that you were beating her. I mean, she's emotionally not capable of processing what she's going through because she's on that many fucking drugs. And now that she's not with you, she's experiencing withdrawals, and she's scared because she's in a situation that is unfamiliar to her. Her sense of safety is with you at the house with the kids. And now she doesn't have that, and she wants it back. She thinks that if she pretends like you did something bad, that she's going to get the kids back. Lexi Delgado thought that with Ogre. Or Christopher Weaver, I should say. Lexi Delgado went by cardboard. They had a kid together, and although Ogre was trying to get his shit together, and he was doing everything that he could to be the best dad that he could, while jumping through the hoops, these expensive hoops that the Department of Health and Human Services and the police and all these other people wanted him to jump through. See, Lexi Delgado was the predator in that situation. Her victim was Ogre. Ogre still has to deal with the consequences of that to this day. Also, Ogre and I are not friends. Not anymore. He treated me like shit after Natalie died. He's one of the great many people who pretended they were my friends and then took complete advantage of me. I watched his kid and his dog for 3 fucking months. 3 months secluded from my loved ones. 3 months of having the hope that he's going to come back and keep his word. Every day of that 3 months, he told me he was going to bring me back a cigarette or bring me back a pack of cigarettes. He was supposed to be paying me for doing this job, but he didn't have the money, and I just had to understand. But he was going to hook me up with cigarettes. But then he'd come back. I've watched his kid or his dog all day fucking long. When he had his kid taken away, I was just stuck there watching his dog while he went into town and ran around and did all the stuff that he needed to do. But I mean, I'm miles outside of Boulder at this fucking hotel. Brandon Ratner and Veronica Randall can both testify to this situation too, because both of them were involved. Ogre needed help, and I called in all the favors that I could to try to get Ogre help because he was getting fucked. Not in a million years would he ever do that for me. It would have been nice to know that at the time. Of course, even if I'd have known that at the time, there is not a chance in hell that I was going to abandon his daughter Quilly. That little girl did not deserve that hell. And it wasn't Ogre who put her through it. Ogre wasn't the one who was not allowed around his daughter. Cardboard was the one who wasn't allowed around his daughter. Just like Joshua Eichelberger was not allowed around Tabitha Cook's daughters. But guess what? Ogre was stupid and let her do that anyway. And she stole his fucking kid. Guess what? Tabitha Michelle Cook was fucking stupid and she did it anyway. And he assaulted her kids again. Made their lives hell. Made my life hell. The whole goddamn time I was at Tabby's. See, that's the thing, is that these people, my predators, when Natalie disappeared, all of my predators wanted to jump on the Sean Schwartz hate bandwagon. Hey, this is my opportunity to bash Sean. This is my opportunity to wipe away the fact that I just tried to fucking shoot my wife to fucking death. But people really hate Sean right now. I can get people to like me by slandering his name. Yeah, guess what, bud? You got on there and you slandered my name, and I stuffed your mom's words down your throat, bitch. My predators all got away with doing the things that they did because police would not do their jobs. Jordan Anderson was not the first police officer in Chapel, Nebraska not to do his fucking job. He was not the first officer that I went to about this abuse who refused to fucking document it. He wasn't the first cop who turned off his body camera. Onyx typed, "Police in America are awful." Onyx, I noticed that you typed yesterday too. Your name is easy to remember. I used to have a friend named Onyx, Onyx. His real name was Tommy Gallia. He was a heroin addict in Boulder too. He was also one of my computer guys. We had a program to try to help homeless people that have computer skills to get computers so that they could actually utilize their computer skills and get unhomeless. Altogether, we passed out probably close to 20 computers. When I had to move out of my storage facility, there was close to 40 computers in various states of brokenness. We didn't get any complete working computers. None. So we had to invest our time and resources into working on these things. And I did pay these people for working on these computers, except for Larry. He refused. He says, you know what? You don't have to pay me to do a good thing. It's a good thing you're trying to do here, and I'm just happy to help. But Onyx, I really miss him. I miss Anna Hunka. She's dead too. I miss Janine. She's dead too. I miss Rihanna. She's dead too. I miss Rory, and he is dead too. I miss Leprechaun and Forrest, and they're both dead. I miss Danny, and he's dead. And all these people who stabbed me in the back and treated me like shit, I still love them, and I still miss them too. And it is going to destroy me when they die. Having to hear about Janine dying from long distance. Same with Anna and Tommy. Because I couldn't be there. I couldn't be there because of the safety issues that were present because these people didn't come forward. Yeah, I need dead people to speak. I need Natalie to not be dead so she can tell the truth. I need Janine to not be dead so she can tell the truth. I need Anna to not be dead so she can tell the truth. But I can't bring them back to life. The police should have done their jobs immediately instead of doing everything that they can to refuse to do their jobs until it is too fucking confusing and convoluted to do a goddamn thing. They should have investigated those people when I took those crimes to them the first time. The Bollingers were able to railroad me in fucking court because of situations like that with Jordan Anderson, where Jordan Anderson treated me the way that males are fucking treated. Of course, you noticed it with Graham there, and with Miss Laura there, that officer treated me completely different than when I had to talk to police alone. Sure, he didn't do his job, but he pretended he was gonna. At that point, I was so glad that Jordan Anderson was there. I'm like, dude, you are the first police officer who's taken my report. The very first one. Oh, but guess what? Just like the other cops, he didn't do his job. And the recordings between me and Scott DeCosta on this very channel, he admits that. Scott DeCosta admits that. I got railroaded in court because nobody cared enough to document it. It's not that I wasn't trying, it's that they weren't doing. I paid my taxes for them to frame me for crimes I didn't commit. I paid my taxes for them to ignore the crimes against me by actual dangerous people, actual drug dealers, actual felons with actual guns like Ted Bollinger. My predators had guns. Yes, I understand why a woman, after destroying a man's life like that, I understand why she would be paranoid that he would want retribution. I can understand that. After you do that to a man, I personally believe he should have the right to kill you. 100%. If a man is going to be tortured for the rest of his life over that, yes, I think that he should fully have the right to beat you to fucking death in front of God and everyone, like women get away with all the fucking time. Sure, the women that I've seen beating men in public because it's a power trip and they can get away with it, sure, they haven't beaten those men to death. But the hell that those men have to go through, they shouldn't have to. If he just stands there and takes it, then he's getting bullied by people because he got beaten up by a girl. If he stands there and takes it for half an hour and finally he's like, hey, she's hit me in the head a lot. She's gonna give me fucking brain damage or kill me on accident. I better push her away from me. Well, now you're a woman beater. No matter what, you're in the wrong because you have a penis. She is allowed to destroy your life because she has a vagina. And no matter what you do, people treat you like shit. You try to walk away from the situation, and people say, you ran away like a bitch. And then they treat you like a bitch. When they treat you like a bitch, that is often physical. Oh, if a little girl can beat him up, then I can beat him up. No, dude. You need to understand that I was nice to that girl who was assaulting me, just as I'm being nice to you. When Casper assaulted me over Ryan, he probably threw 10 or 15 fucking swings at me. He only hit me with 3. Only one of them was almost decently a connection. The other 2, he fucking swung at my hoodie. Now, why wasn't he able to get a solid shot? Because I was spinning around in circles. Literally, just going around in circles. When somebody is planted and solid and you hit them in the shoulder, they feel it. But if he's turning this way and you go to hit him in the shoulder, well, just going to glance off. After these people did horrible shit to me, they want sympathy from me. All Natalie Bollinger had to do to put an end to this is to tell the fucking truth. Was that too fucking complicated? Because she was a woman, and because of the slander that I was never allowed to defend myself against. By the way, you guys keep telling me that I should have been allowed. I agree with you, but the law is different. The law says that because I was called mentally ill, I don't have those rights that you guys keep pushing at me. You want to push a suggestion that doesn't work. It's not that I didn't try it. I've probably tried it dozens of times. If you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. If you're going to keep on suggesting to me something that doesn't work because of a label, no matter how many times I tell you that, it goes in one ear and out the fucking other. On the bright side, I didn't just get my predator's words recorded and up there. I also recorded the words of their victims. Little Jay wanted to be a fucking douchebag to me. So I posted up the words from his mother. And I have screenshots of the conversations between his sister and I. Now, why isn't that shit all being posted up here like I do with a lot of these other situations? Because Kimberly Jepson was not involved. At no point in time was Kimberly Jepson involved with any of that situation except for me trying to get help from her. When she wasn't able to, she wasn't able to. I accept that. It's the people like Miss Peaches who promised that they were going to. And for months and months and months, I'm being abused because she hasn't come forward yet. She's too busy selling fucking pot and probably various other drugs, but that's beside the point. The people that I ripped at weren't the people who said I can't help. They're the ones who offered to help and then didn't. The ones who wasted my time and wasted my resources. The ones who told me that they would help and then they helped my predators. That's the reason their shit gets posted up here. They try selling a fucking bullshit narrative and I show the truth. Kim Jepsen didn't do the fucking vindictive bullshit that Jamie Curtis did. Or the fucked up bullshit that Jackie McKenzie did. Or the fucked up shit that Cammie Jepsen did. Kim Jepsen did not do the fucked up shit that Little J did. She didn't do the fucked up shit that the cops did. She didn't do the fucked up shit that Natalie did, and Alicia did, and Ted Bollinger did. She didn't do the fucked up shit that Danica did, and Shelly did, and Jerry did, and Lana did, and Amanda did. Kim didn't fucking lie to me. Kim has a family. Kim had nothing to do with the situation. Most of these other people did. Most of these other people who did fucked up shit in these situations are the ones who said that they could help me and offered to help me and then did exactly the opposite. Of course, I can understand why people would do a thing like that. I'd told on Lana and those people for the shit that they did while I was in Virginia visiting fucking Natalie. Yes, I told that fucking story. Now, a lot of people tried to pretend that because I called Natalie a cunt, it was because I didn't get laid. Yes, you women are taught that any time that you are being ripped at because of something that you actually did, if you pretend it was about sex, you get away with it. Now, how many times did I call people cunts before Natalie was killed? Are you going to pretend that all of those people, it's because they rejected me sexually? If you look at all of our messages between me and all of these people, there are zero sexual advances. Zero. All right, I got to take that back. There are sexual advances from others towards me. So there are sexual advances in them. They're just not coming from me. You notice in the conversations between me and Natalie that every time that she starts trying to confess her undying love for me, I cut her off. Sometimes she types, I used to think that I was in love with you. And then she's like, I never really got over that. And then there's other times where I type, I'm glad you got over that. Like our first conversation about it in typing. I tell her, I'm glad you got over that. And then in some of our other conversations, she says that she actually didn't. I'm like, it's always little kids that fucking have crushes on me. By the time you're grown women, yeah, you don't give a shit about me. You want the dude who's already got it all. He's already got a house. He's already got a vehicle. He's already got it, the looks, you know. You want your future to be handed to you right at 18. Women in the United States come to expect that. When things don't go right at 18, they don't get what they want. They end up in the same world that men are in, but then again, it is socially acceptable for them to prey on a man when they're in that situation. You make excuses for her. Well, she was afraid. What would you have done? Well, what would I have done? I'm a male. I don't have that option. And if I did have that option, I'd be on my way to prison for doing that shit. What would I do? I'd get punished. That's what I'd do. I'd get victimized. That's what I'd do. That's Thanksgiving. I ain't got much to be thankful for, but there's some stuff. I'm thankful that that guy at the north end of town, even though he's wrong a lot, he eventually admits it. When he fucking snaps at me after having to deal with fucking Sandy for 4, 5, 6 goddamn hours, he feels bad for it. I can tell he feels bad for it. I can tell that it's eating him up inside, especially when he apologizes for it. Yeah, I know it was difficult for you to do. I can see that it took you 8 hours or 2 days, depending on the situation. You know, I understand it took you 2 days to be able to muster up what it took to admit that you were wrong, but at least you did. And I'm thankful for that. It would have been nice if you hadn't snapped at me to begin with, but because you are showing remorse, I can forgive you. Sandy Fromm shows no remorse. Ted Bollinger shows no remorse. These officers show no remorse. Alicia Bollinger shows no remorse. Many of these people who wanted to call me up drunk as a fucking skunk, like Teresa Orn, my old babysitter, another alcoholic. I am one of the few people I know who doesn't do drugs or alcohol. I'm a pothead. By the way, Nebraska here, we've had it on our ballot 5 times to vote to legalize marijuana, but they have never allowed it on the ballot. They've got the signatures. By law, they need to put it on the ballot. Why won't they put it on the ballot? In their minds, they're making too much money off of it being illegal. Look at Colorado. You will literally make hundreds upon hundreds of times more from it being legal. You can measure what you get here in Nebraska off of the fucking interstate. You can measure that in maybe, what, $2 million cash per year? Colorado's panning out billions since 64. Billions of dollars. Half of Nebraska smokes pot, bud. And a good portion of those who don't smoke pot are sick and tired of child molesters and rapists walking free because you don't want somebody to smoke a goddamn joint. Little J, you fucked up. You thought that you would kick me while I'm down. By the time you decided you were going to kick me, I'd already spoken with your mother. I had already recorded 3 or 4 conversations with her. Dumbass. While you're slandering my name, I showed evidence that you're the bitch, bitch. Little J, how did you like hearing your mom's voice? Talking about what a little shit you are. How did that fucking feel? You want to slander my name? I will shove those words down your throat. When I said all of my predators used Natalie's death to justify the things that they did, that was not a joke. That was all the way down the line. From little Jason Jepson to Jamie Curtis to the Bollinger family. Goddamn Americans are fucking stupid. It's not that the police are bad. We know the police are bad. It's that nobody's fucking doing anything about it because you're a bunch of goddamn cowards. You are too much of a coward to stand up for your own fucking rights. So you chug down to the bottom of a goddamn bottle and self-pity, wallowing. And what are you wallowing in? You're wallowing in your own fucking pathetic bullshit. And then you want to tell me what I should do. You don't have the balls to do that yourself, or you would get out of that fucking bottle. Do not give me advice that you are not going to follow. Do not tell me to let it go. What you are asking me to let go is my right to defend myself. The term mentally ill determines your court dates. If you are called mentally ill, all of the rights that you are entitled to as a human being are gone. The laws about how they can treat a mentally ill person in the United States are illegal according to the Geneva Convention. Matter of fact, according to the Geneva Convention, it is a declaration of war. The way that the homeless and the disabled people are treated does fall under the category of genocide. And that's not the only war crime. And it is a war. It is a war. It's a war against the poor in this country. You know, every time that some fucking idiot types to me, well, the rich will never allow us to do that. Bitch, why are you asking them for permission? There are 350 million of us in this country who are not millionaires. Are you that fucking bad at math? And you pretend I'm the fucking retard.